For this indie showcase, we're taking a look at the haunted PlayStation 1 demo disc, the Flipside Heights edition. This came out at the end of 2024, early 2025, and this is a collection of 24 demos from upcoming or released games that follow the spooky or spoofy theme. There are several demos from this collection that we did not look at because we've covered them on previous showcases from previous events, and that includes Juice, The Lacerator, Aether Singularity, Angelina Era, Forklift Flower Pot. You should check those demos out, and they are all, I believe, available on Steam as well. And with that, let's get to the demos that we did play over 2 nights from this collection. We're starting things off with Sorrow. This is a King's Field-like dungeon crawler. You are investigating a strange town where everyone has disappeared, the dead are walking, and you're going to have to figure things out by hacking and slashing your way through. Now, as with a lot of the ones that we've seen lately, your damage is going to be dictated by your stamina bar that fills up as you aren't attacking. Now, as an interesting aspect of this one, is that you can parry enemy attacks, and a successful parry will instantly restore your meter, enabling you to then immediately attack again, and keep the pressure going. You will of course get access to different weapons, armor, etc. as you try to explore the world itself. I like the theme and the general look of Sorrow. My main concern is that I didn't see too much in terms of new elements or something that stands out from some of the other ones we've played, especially Lunacid back in 2022, I believe. Or it could have been 2023 again. Time is as mysterious as this game. But there is still something charming about this one. So if you're in the mood for a dungeon crawler, then this could be a demo worth checking out, and I am curious to see where the main game is going to go. We now go to Syprit Walker. This is a kind of open, horror FPS. You are investigating demons roaming the land, and a town where all the villagers have gone missing. It's only up to you with gun, axe, and special artifacts in order to bring light back to the world. The game itself is kind of in a similar element of the progression of, say, a Stalker, or kind of more on the open-ended. You'll have a full map to explore with secrets, hidden challenges, and of course, getting into arena fights along the way. By completing the major areas, you'll get access to weapons, upgrades, and find more of the villagers, who will then be able to return back to the hub. Then they'll grant you more services and features, and etc, etc. The gunplay here is going for more on the kind of slower end of things. You have your kick that you can knock enemies back, and headshots do really matter. We did run into a little bit of a hiccup with the AI companion, getting stuck, and the scripting wasn't working. But I am interested to see where this one is going to go. There's definitely a lot more to it than meets the eye, and another open world style FPS definitely intrigues me. So, definitely one that is worth checking out, and if you're in the mood for a little, Old West shootout, or axe out. We now go to Subversive Memories. This takes place in Brazil, where you have come to investigate a military base where someone important to you has gone missing. But the base has apparently dug up something mysterious, and now people have gone missing, dying of some strange sickness, and there are invisible monsters roaming the land. So this definitely reminds me a lot of Signalis, as you'll move through the kind of isometric perspective, or kind of 3/4 perspective, trying to deal with enemies, find resources, and do your best job to dodge anything that gets in your way. My main concern about this one is that light is your weapon, and unfortunately you do not have access to Alan Wake's super flashlight or flares. And it did feel a little bit awkward to be trying to hit the enemies because you can only see their shadow. So it's a little bit awkward when it comes to kind of aiming the flashlight for maximum damage. Other than that, this is going to be your survival horror through and through. You'll be collecting items, trying to find clues, solve puzzles, etc, etc. If you are a fan of Signalis and more on the old school style survival horror, I would definitely give this one a check, and I'm curious to see how things will be balanced in the main game. We take a break from horror for the puzzle game Axyz, or AXAY. This is a 3D puzzle, somewhat of a platformer, where your job is to reach the exit by manipulating your ball and collecting all the keys and MacGuffins along the way. The unique element in this one is that whenever you are kind of standing on the edge of something, you can jump off of it, regardless of how gravity is manipulating it. So the idea is that you're going to have to try and figure out where and on what perspective you're going to want to leap off of the objects that you're on in order to move around the level, collect all the things, and get to the exit. So this one can get very trippy very fast. You can only jump at specific points, and there's a fixed kind of distance of how far you can jump as well. And I was getting into this one. If you're not easily perplexed by 3D perspective and looking for a puzzle game, I would give this one a play. We now switch to a little bit of an oddity with Scissors in Hell. You have been sent to hell, and in order to find your way out, you must apparently fight strange monsters, do lots and lots of crafting, and try to make sense of this weird world. The game itself is a combination of Minecraft, like resource collecting and building items and so on, mixed with turn-based JRPG combat while you're dungeon crawling. It's a very unusual take, to be sure, as you'll need to figure out what all your resources do, how you can combine them into making something else new, and making progress one craftable and eating one piece of food or whatever at a time. The onboarding of this one is definitely a little bit on the eccentric side, as you'll need to figure out just what the heck is going on with some strange notes that may or may not guide you. I am definitely intrigued by this one, and it stands out as perhaps the most unique demo we played during our showcase streams. If you're looking for a very unusual game and aren't easily perplexed by strangeness, definitely give this one a play. We go from the strange to something very familiar with Ticky's Tower of Time. This is a 3D platform where you play as Ticky, the clock, who is trying to get to their job at a wizard's tower, but something has gone horribly wrong. And the only way to fix it is to collect lots and lots of MacGuffins. This one is perhaps the most traditional game that I played from the collection. My issue and concern is that it feels very slow to play. Like, there didn't seem to be as much in terms of movement tech or feel to this compared to some of the other 3D platformers we've played. The kind of retro art is pleasing enough, but this one seems like it's going to be strictly for people who are really in the mood for like a PlayStation 1 era 3D platformer. We now go from PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 with a Souls-like titled Prison of Husks. You are trapped in a prison as per the rules of a Souls-like, and everything is out to get you. And you must fight your way through and do all the staples of Souls-like design. Finding gear, opening up secret entrances, falling into pits, and dying. The unique element of this one is that every character, including yours, has armor that taking enough damage will break it, leading to the character taking increased damage and being more easily staggered. So it's a challenge between trying to break their armor before they break yours. I did find the control scheme here to be a little bit clunky, and I hope that kind of gets improved in the main game or when it is released, but there's certainly some charm here for this one. So if you are a Souls-like fan looking for another fix for that challenging masochism that we all know and love, then definitely give this demo a try. We now go to 500 Calibur Contractz. You play a hired killer who must go through a variety of areas and take out their target using their sniper. But this is a 3D platformer, so you'll be able to use your sniper rifle and jump tech, and I guess sniper tech, in order to move around, collect MacGuffins, and reach your target. They are definitely aiming for more of a like technical-based platforming in this one, as your character's movement doesn't seem to be capped. So if you keep like doing like jump dashing and repeating it, you'll just keep getting faster and faster and faster until you just completely lose control. Your sniper can be aimed at the ground to kind of give yourself like a super jump, and this is more about kind of exploring the space and seeing what you can find. Now, the onboarding can be a little bit funky in this one, as it kind of leaves up to you to figure out just what anything does in this one, but it certainly has some charm to spare. So if you're a 3D platformer fan who likes shooting as well as jumping and dashing and more jumping, then definitely give this demo a try. We now switch over to Blessed Burden. This is a 3D or first-person platformer. You play as a priest who has been sent to hell, and in order to redeem your soul and escape the devil's clutches, you must do what we must always do, and that is run and jump through a variety of obstacles. This is pure, like, obstacle-focused platforming. Each level introduces different things for you to avoid. You must slide, jump, and I'm sure find some other means as well to get from point A to point B. There are bonus collectibles to find, and this one I like the theme and general look of it, but I didn't really see anything that kind of stood out as a first-person platformer. So I'm curious to see like where things are going to lead down to hell in the finished game. But if you are looking for some first-person platforming, then I would recommend you check out this demo. We now go to Toree Saturn for some happy-go-lucky platforming. The first Toree was more like a traditional 3D platform, like a Mario-like or that kind of thing. This time we're going with a Sonic adventure, gotta go fast, lock-on dashing, and that style of movement tech. From our demo here, again, like I didn't see anything that like stood out as being completely different from the genre, but we're going for more on the like super fast pace. Again, if you're a fan of like the Sonic style of 3D platforming, then this one's definitely going to be up your alley, and I'm curious to see what they will add, or if they will add anything that is unique for this style. Still a very joyful and surprisingly challenging and tricky game to play, and another easy recommendation. We now go from something bright to very dark, with Death in Abyss. This is a kind of 3D spaceship, like almost like a Star Fox-like. You are in a strange dimension. Something is out there causing trouble, and you are the only one left to figure this out. So the gameplay here, at least from what we see in the demo, is that you'll go into an area, you'll have an objective to clear. This will usually involve killing specific enemies or a specific number of enemies. Once you've cleared them, you'll move on to the next wave and the game will checkpoint. Things will escalate for sure, as you must dodge, shoot, and charge up your homing lasers to stand any chance. While it begins kind of easy, the boss fight at the end of the demo can be a bit on the challenging side. You'll need to do your best dodging. And not so much bullet hell dodging, but more like enemy sweeping attack dodging. I really enjoy the aesthetics and style of this one, and I'm really interested to see kind of like where the story, as well as the more deranged monster designs, are going to lead in this one. So a standout demo from the showcase for me, and one of my favorites for sure. We now go to Eclipsium. This is a first-person adventure game where a strange thing is calling you, and it's up to your left and right hand in order to figure things out and maybe get out of it all alive. So our gameplay here is going for more on the adventure style. Each area, logic and proportion basically take a break, as you'll be exploring some very strange environments and trying to make sense out of the kooky and unusual visuals that you'll be running into. There doesn't seem to be any kind of fear of death in this one, as it's just more about kind of going through the exploration and figuring out what strange sights you will see next. I do like the artwork and the aesthetic of this one, as it definitely blends into the more creepy nature of the game. It can be a little bit hard to kind of spot things, both due to the darkness of the area and because of the kind of like pixel aesthetic, things can kind of like blur together. But if you're looking for some adventure and puzzle solving in a very unusual world, then you should definitely give this one a play. We now switch over to FriendShapes. This is a kind of emotional RPG roguelike. In a way, the kind of structure of this reminds you a little bit of Sorry We're Open. You are trapped in a strange dimension, and in order to retain yourself, not go insane or die, you must explore and try to make sense out of it all. The structure here is that you'll go into a kind of quote-unquote dungeon, with different events that will pop up randomly, and they can affect your 3 main stats. If any one of them hits 0, it is back to the start and you've lost. Combat is unique in that instead of it's about fighting enemies, you have to figure out how to interact with them. Figuring out the correct interactions will either stop the fight entirely, weaken the enemy, hurt them, etc. But it's entirely about you trying to figure things out. I found the onboarding and kind of the approachability in this one to be a little bit hard. For one thing, the music was blaring. I have things extra low for this video, but it was starting to hurt my ears after a few minutes of playing it when the battle music kicked in. And definitely could use a little bit better in terms of general like GUI and just figuring out what am I trying to do in this one. Definitely not for someone looking for an easy to get into RPG, but if you're someone who's looking for a very original and very challenging take on it, then definitely give this one a try. For our next game we go to The Hungry Fly. This is an adventure game where you play as a fly who can only eat things that are dying or dead. And you must explore and fly around a very unusual world to find sustenance. The art style in this one is definitely interesting, as you'll be exploring a variety of strange locales, meeting some unusual creatures, and trying to find a bite to eat. Puzzles logic in this one is trying to figure out what someone wants and trying to move them or move something to them. There are different choices that you can take that will affect the story in some way, shape, or form. I was intrigued by this one. While it doesn't seem like it's doing anything original with its gameplay or the mechanics, the story and the more unusual nature of this one will definitely make it stand out. So, I would say this is a recommendation if you're an adventure game fan looking to do a little bit of flying around with your puzzles. Our next game is No Strings Attached, but it's part of a collection from the developer called Vladimere's Lhore. A developer seems to specialize in a lot of like modern retro takes on action horror. This one is a short form kind of adventure style one, when you are trapped in your boyfriend's home and apparently there's a demon woman who's out to get you. And you must solve puzzles, hide, and try not to get killed in the process. Now, since we only had a chance to play this one game in the collection, we didn't get a chance to see like what other games, like how they work and play, but the collection is available on Steam. So if you are a modern retro fan looking for a healthy mix of action and horror, I would give the demo a try, and also check out the full collection of games. We now go to No Players Online, a mystery horror retro game, all disguised in the form of an early first-person shooter. You have found a computer from a long time ago, and on it, you happen to discover on a BBS the missing or a long-lost file to a game that was never released. But when you start playing it, suddenly strange things start happening on your computer, and you're going to have to do some digging on the old internet and in the game in order to make sense out of it all. This one definitely is leaning into the aesthetics and charm of like retro computing, and of course trying to figure out how the old internet works. I really enjoyed this one. There are some very interesting puzzles, as you'll eventually get access to a program that creates new games by combining other games on your computer, just like how it works exactly in real game dev. The kind of switch from the computer to the first-person shooter is pretty great, And this one definitely will leave you with a lot more questions than answers. So, if you are a 90s kid looking to go back to the old days, a little bit of horror thrown in, then you should check out this demo. We have another mystery, but maybe one slightly more lighthearted with Trip. You are on a train, and for some reason it seems like things are looping as you go from room to room. But then there's variations, and a strange person or being is pushing you forward to solving the mystery. What does it all mean? Well, you're going to take the trip to find out. This one is kind of going for the old-fashioned, everything is happy and nice until it's not style of horror. I do like the aesthetics and using kind of the loop in order to get puzzle solutions and move things forward is a great touch. I don't know how long or how challenging this one will end up, but definitely a very interesting and original horror puzzle happy game? Well, either way, I would say if you're in the mood for something a bit strange, then you should give this one a play. We go from mystery to teen angst for our final demo and Children of Saturn. You are basically shown the lives of teens who are living under an orange sky as they try to make sense out of life, get into trouble, and hopefully learn a little bit more about themselves along the way. The entire viewpoint and aesthetic of this one is that everyone is being shown through camcorder recordings at different moments of their lives and when different events happen. From what we played of this one, this is definitely aiming more as story-driven entirely. I don't know there'll be any kind of like major gameplay elements or, you know, anything that's going to be more like reflex intensive, that kind of thing. But the story is definitely interesting. And I do like kind of using the camcorder as our narrative device. So if you're in the mood for some angst and wanting to get back to your childhood, I would give this demo a try. And with that, the PlayStation 1 demo disc is done for another year. As I said at the start, there were several demos we did not get a chance to play because we've already covered them previously, and I recommend you check those out as well. If you tailor your game for a future stream or showcase doesn't involve being haunted, spooky, spoofy, or anything else, please reach out. Let me know what you think about your favorite demos down in the comments. And with that, I guess I'll see everyone next year for the Haunted 2025, or maybe 2026 PlayStation 1 Demo Disc Showcase. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.